We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. If you want to support the true college football rebel outpost, the home for the true college football sickos, with a donation, help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Hit that $sign where you make your comments, and I'll get to you super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. Welcome, everybody. It is November 12th, Wednesday. Don Scruggs. Don Scruggs, the Georgia Bulldog. Are you, Don, do I have your attention? Don, give me a yes if I have your attention. Don't worry, I'm not gonna, just everybody relax. Mr. Georgia Bulldog, Don Scruggs, do I have your attention? Or did you just come on in and go on? Because we've got to talk a little bit of Bulldogs here. Is Don Scruggs still in the chat room? Well, I'm going to say it anyways. We are going to be making our picks against the spread. Week 12. Greg the Cooler, for the last 4 weeks, I've had losing weeks. Not this week. This week I'm going to win. I'm 66-66 overall. The PATC Gridiron Einsteins are 64-68. One of the games that we are going to be making our picks is this game. Right here. It is going to be the Texas Longhorns versus the Georgia Bulldogs. I got a feeling that this is a 100% lock. And you want to know why? Do you want to know why? Well, Don Scruggs doesn't seem to be in the chat anymore. Oh, there he is. There he is. Texas ain't played in nobody. No, that's not the reason, Don. That's not the reason, Don. Don, and Wendy. The reason why the Georgia Bulldogs, and I'm going to give you guys, you guys are going to pick first. I'm going to pick second. So I'm helping. I'm helping the PATC Gridiron Einsteins with their pick. The Georgia Bulldogs are going to cover. The Georgia Bulldogs are going to cover. They are going to smash the Longhorns. They are. And nobody can give me a reason why. Sark is overrated. They haven't played anybody. You're not quite getting to it. Well, you're going to have to wait. I guess you're going to have to wait, because when I make that selection, I'm taking the Georgia Bulldogs, and I'm telling you why. I've been telling you the whole season. I'm shocked that nobody can come up with a reason why the Georgia Bulldogs are an absolute lock at -6.5. Okay, we're going to have to get to it later. Stick around. Bill G. Unbelievable generosity by Bill G. Kenneth Stromness, BYU Cougar, the Buckshot Kid, Jonathan Weaver, Zach Mock, Dave Valensky, the Golden Gopher. You've all been gifted a membership by the incredible, edible Bill G. Thank you, Bill G., for your generosity once again. I'm very humbled that you would give all the gift memberships out on this YouTube channel. Everything that you have done, thank you, Bill G. All of you are knighted. Cloak and dagger. Lord Weiss is in the house. The Texas Tech Red Raiders. We're going to be talking about the Red Raiders here in a little bit. Greg the Gold picked Texas preseason. Okay. That's probably, okay. You got me. That's probably the best reason why the Georgia Bulldogs are going to cover the -6.5 point spread. But that's not where I'm going, Preston from Greensboro. You're stepping on my call here. That's probably a better reason. But there's another reason. Because Arch Manning is load managing. Is it because I had Arch Manning as the winner of the Heisman before the season? There is a million reasons why the Bulldogs are going to blow out the Longhorns. But nobody has come up with it yet. So we're going to have to wait. I'm surprised. I thought one of you Einsteins would say, oh, that's right. That's right. The fat guy from Minnesota has been warning us about a certain something. All right, we'll have to get over it. We're gonna have to pick up on it later. Elliot Howard is in the house. Don Scruggs, Kill Ball, Movie Time Blues. How radical are we talking about here, Greg? I don't know what that comment is about. But Movie Time Blues, thanks for coming on in. Go Black 45, Jimmy Austin, Richard, Vox, Quindaro, Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk is in the house. Anthony Mazio, go Buckeyes. Richard L., Mr. Colorado Buffalo. The Wolverine himself, the Amazing Blue, is here. Nathan Jones, go Cougs, is here. Mr. Seminole, Daniel Gorby is here. Buckeye, Caleb Ramirez. Preston from Greensboro. Gerald Jones, Buckeye. Go Tigers, LSU Tigers, Rodney Richborg, and the Sun Devil himself, James Foster, is in the house. All right, we're coming on early because it's a Wednesday. We come on early on Wednesdays, usually, because I've got a stacked. All my days are stacked, just like all your days are, but Wednesday is my most challenging day. So, Buckshot Kid is in the house. Another Rock Chalk Jayhawk, Azon the Kid. Thanks for coming on in, Azon. I do very much appreciate it. All right. We'll get to why Georgia is going to smash Texas later on in the program when I do my picks. But you're going to go first. I'm going to go second. We are going to do 12 games this week. And I got to break this losing streak. I got to, because I'm really getting depressed over it. First of all, the rankings came out. We haven't talked about it. I did a live show earlier on a Tuesday, before the college football playoff rankings came out. Tice Summerall says Tony Petitti is a dirtbag. That's not the reason why Georgia Bulldogs are going to blow out the Texas Longhorns. But I'm going to help you out later in the program, Tice. Appreciate you coming on in. Look at the 25 ranked teams here. Give me your opinion. Put it in the chat. Super chats, of course, supersede. Give me a phone call later on in the program. Cincinnati, number 25. USF, 24. Again, South Florida Bulls are in the catbird seat when it comes to being the G5 representative in the college football playoffs. Tennessee is number 23, which is important for number 14, Vanderbilt, and we'll get to that in a moment. Pittsburgh, number 22. Now, as you all know, I went ahead and put Pittsburgh as the ACC champion. That is my latest projection. I'm probably going to be wrong. No question about it. The Iowa Hawkeyes, number 21. Louisville, number 20. Virginia Cavaliers, they also drop with a loss. Number 19. Michigan is up to 18. The Wolverines are getting ready for they have one shot to get to the playoffs, and we know what that is. The game against the Buckeyes. USC at number 17. They still have a shot. Georgia Tech, obviously they have a shot. They can win the ACC championship game. Miami is still in there at number 15. They moved up in the rankings. Vanderbilt is at 14. And again, Vanderbilt ends the season with a game at Knoxville. It's at Tennessee. If Vanderbilt wins that football game, it's going to be very difficult for the selection committee not to have Vanderbilt, in my opinion, as the 10th seed in the college football playoffs. Utah, they've got a shot to be the 10th seed. BYU, they got a shot to be the 10th seed or be the Big 12 champion. Oklahoma against Alabama this week. I don't think Oklahoma is going to get there. I think Oklahoma is going to come up just a little short after they lose to Bama this weekend. Texas has got a shot, but again, sorry to say this, Longhorn fans, the Georgia Bulldogs are going to blow you out. And the reason they're going to blow you out, a lot of people have put good reasons together in the chat room, but they haven't driven home the main reason why the Bulldogs are going to blow out the Longhorns. Notre Dame at number 9, Oregon at number 8, Ole Miss 7, and look at the Red Raiders. They got some love last night, and it's well-deserved love. Now, of course, in my projections, I got the committee at the end of the day not giving them the love that they deserve, and they're going to be at a 7th seed in the playoffs. I think they're going to put in 11-1 Ole Miss and 11-1 Georgia ahead of the Red Raiders. But maybe not. Maybe the Red Raiders are going to split those two. Maybe the Red Raiders will come in front of Ole Miss, as long as they, of course, run the table and they have a very impressive win in the Big 12 championship game. Then you're looking at the Georgia Bulldogs at 5, Bama at 4, Texas A&M at 3, Indiana at 2, the Buckeyes at number 1. Do I have a real problem with any of this? Not really. Not really. I don't. I'm sorry. I wish I did. I could go on a rant. People are sick of my rants. So maybe it's a good thing. But I'm okay with this. I'm all right. with this. I don't really see a problem. Utah Utes. They passed the eye test for me. Sorry, they do. BYU, to me, is a very good football team. Now, they got their doors blown off by the Red Raiders. But to me, the Red Raiders are nasty good. Nasty great. A threat to win it all. As long as the Red Baron Morton doesn't get nicked up again. If he gets nicked up again, then I don't think the Red Raiders are a threat. But if he's healthy, the Red Raiders are a threat. I don't think that's even a... I don't think that's a controversial statement. I think Utah's 13. I got no problem with that. I don't got any problem with Miami at 15. I do question if the Hurricanes can pull this off. I do question that. In fact, I'm a little queasy on the Hurricanes this coming up game against the Wolfpack, to be honest with you. Oklahoma, I think they're going to fall short. In the rest, I don't have a problem with this. I really do not have a problem with this. But let me know if you do. Let me know. A lot of people, Daniel Gorby, Notre Dame should not be 6 spots ahead of Miami. A lot of people agree with you, Daniel Gorby. They do. See, the problem is you're not comparing Notre Dame and Miami in a vacuum. You're comparing Notre Dame and Miami along with Texas, Oklahoma, BYU, Utah, Vanderbilt. That's the issue. And Miami's losses are just, and look, Miami still got a shot. They all have a shot. Okay, so that's the top 25. I just want to spend a little time on that. I mostly agree. I really don't have a problem with it. Really do not have a problem with it. Okay, now let's get to Laura Weiss. Michigan State reaches an agreement about recruiting violations. MBM, something must be done about Notre Dame. Just like last year, I happen to think Notre Dame is pretty good. I think they're passing the eye test. The Greg Pflugar eye test, right? As long as, we don't have this large AQ format that I want. So a lot of it has to be, I don't know, this team looks better than that team. Let's take a look at the metrics. I think Notre Dame is pretty good. I think they're very good. So I don't know. But a lot of people agree that Notre Dame should not be at number 9 because who have they beaten? I think they look mighty impressive. Now, Notre Dame belongs unless they lose to Pittsburgh. I agree with you on that, still, Austin. And I think Pittsburgh's got a shot. Pittsburgh doesn't need to win that game. Just like their head coach said. Their head coach shouldn't be saying that. It's okay if I said it, but Narduzzi should not be saying that. Pittsburgh's got a very good football team. I know they lost to West Virginia. Pittsburgh's got a very good football team. They've got dudes on that team. So, buckle up, Irish. Buckle up. Okay. Let's get to the picks against the spread. Let's do that. And then we're going to touch upon the subject of transforming the conferences. Transforming the conferences. Transforming of the CFB conferences through strategic partnerships. I'm not going to go crazy like I've done the last 2 days. This is not the angry fat guy from Minnesota today. This is the happy fat guy from Minnesota. All right? I am going to touch upon, however, and I'm not going to rip on reporters today, or at least I'll keep it to a minimum. But we've got all this transformation going on in college football, in college sports, right? Student athletes are getting direct payments from the conferences. They're getting NIL deals. We've got the Deloitte Clearinghouse. We got the CSC, the College Sports Commission. We've got all this transformation going on, right? Well, the conferences are going to have to transform themselves. They're going to have to change on how they do business, right? And they're all looking at it. They've all been looking at it for well over a year. The Big 12 has talked to some private equity firms. SEC has talked with Goldman Sachs and others. The Big 10 has gone through a long list of potential deals. The ACC is kind of a little bit of a disjointed situation, but the individual schools have been looking at things. The conference needs to transform themselves. And that is going to be like, transforming is like a fancy word, at least up here in northern Minnesota. Transforming is a fancy word of there's going to be big changes going on. It ain't going to look the same like it did. It ain't going to look the same. So, with those that have feet of clay, that don't want change, or don't recognize the change, or they say everything is bad, well, change is a-coming. As we started talking about late in 2024, when we talked about how third party, the money and everything is going to come in, we don't know how, we don't know when, we don't know at what level. The conference are going to transform themselves. If the UC investment deal doesn't happen, something is going to happen. Something is going to happen in the Southeastern Conference. Something is going to happen in the Big 12. Something is going to happen in the ACC. Something is going to happen in the Big Ten. So my message to the college football reporters, and I'm going to be nice today. If you're standing up, you better sit down. If you're sitting down, you better stand up. You better hang on to something because change is on the way. It ain't going to be like it was. In the college football reporters, and I got to give them credit. Again, I'm being nice today. I got to give them credit. They've been the warriors on the keyboard saying change should happen, that the student athletes should get direct payments, that money should be flowing to labor. They should have more representation. Yes, absolutely. Transformation has been going on in the NBA, in the MLB, in the NFL. These franchises have been bringing on third-party expertise. Not to run their franchise, but to give them advice and to steer a portion of their resources in a direction that would make that third party more money and themselves more money. The NFL is now doing it. The NBA is big on it. Of course, the conferences are going to tap into that. It all might look different from each other. It might look different from what the NFL is doing, what the NBA is doing. And the conferences might do things different from each other. But it's coming. Of course it's coming. And it's already happened in many parts of public universities. And I'll give you an example later on in the show. After we do our picks, public university endowments rely on the expertise of private equity. Endowments, public university endowments, oh my goodness, they lean on the expertise of private equity in all different ways. And the private equity firm thinks it's very good investment of them, and they take a portion of the endowment's money and resources, and they push it over here, they push it in that fund, they push it in that fund, and the better that the private equity firm does for their client, the better it helps the private equity firm and their client. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? It's already being done in public universities. It's already being done in great extent. Why? Why is it being done in public universities? Because it's outside of the core of the public university. The athletic conferences need to have strategic partnership going forward in this new world. They need expertise, outside expertise, to help them guide them in this new world. And when that third party comes in, of course they're going to want a stake in it. That is the payoff. It's a good thing I'm going to be nice today. We are going to give you examples of that. But it's a very good thing that I am going to be nice today. It's not going to be me, no fat guy from Minnesota today. It ain't. It ain't. I hope it ain't. Ricky Tungate, Mr. Hoosier, 5 gifted memberships. Skull Ducky, Jeff Navidad, ACC West Commissioner Gumby, Justin Lucas, and Art Thompson. Thank you, Ricky Tungate, for your incredible generosity once again. Mr. Hoosier, Indiana, number 2 team in the country. I'm probably going to get Mr. Tungate mad at me, but I got Fernando Mendoza at number 2 in the Heisman race. Not number 1. He can be number 1. I do think overall the voters might be leaning Mendoza right now. He did have a Heisman moment, no question about it. You know I'm a big fan of Fernando Mendoza. I bragged about him when he was at California all last year. The amount of pressure that Mendoza had as a California Golden Bear, and he still completed 67% of his passes, and he was absolutely brilliant. And I said, oh no, Indiana's got him in the portal. Oh no, the Big Ten is in trouble. I still think Julian Sayin is number one. Because Julian Sayin has been... But there still is the race. The Heisman race is on. Thank you, Ricky Tungate. For the 5 of you that I named off, for the 5 of you that Ricky Tungate was very kind enough to give you a membership, please say thank you to Mr. Ricky Tungate for his generosity. All of you are knighted. All of you are knighted. Cloak and dagger. Cloak and dagger. Thank you, Mr. Ricky Tungate. Appreciate it. We're going to get to your picks here in a moment. Larry Andrick. We can win 3 if we're lucky. Great shows, Greg. Thank you, Larry Andrick. I appreciate it. West Virginia Mountaineers are closing fast. Rich Rod, give him a full year of being able to get, being able to partake in the whole transfer portal from January 2 to January 16th this year. Give Rich Rod a chance. Give Rich Rod a chance. That's all you can hope for. Thank you, Larry Andrick. Thank you for the $10 holla. I very much appreciate it. Very much appreciate it. K. Newman, BYU will win this week 35-17. This will get settled in the Big Ten Conference Championship game. It might have to get settled in the national championship game or the semifinals, right? Morris Simmons is in the house. Go Black 45 is here. Genetics. Right now they aren't. Okay, I missed that conversation. They know the SEC has already failed behind some in the NIL. Add more revenue schools. SEC falls behind even more. They are fearful of that. Marcus Williams, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it. So Michigan already has 39% private equity. We are going to talk about that, Jose. Jose is jumping ahead. Fight on, Jose. That number changes quite dramatically. It can go down, it can go up. But yes, the University of Michigan is extremely aggressive in using private equity. And there's really good reason for it. So, I don't know. Is the University of Michigan stupid? No. Did the Board of Regents have to give them the vote to do that? Probably not. But yeah, we will talk about that. And is the University of Michigan alone in doing that? Absolutely not. Everybody does it. Almost everybody does it. University of Minnesota leans on private equity in their endowments. The allocation. Of course they do. They want expertise. Doesn't the conferences, the athletic conferences, don't they want expertise coming in? Yes, they do. Even Southeastern Conference, that's why they're talking to Goldman Sachs and others. We will get into all that. Thank you, Marcus William. I appreciate it. Nick Kelsel, thank you. Saying he is Cutter Stockton must be third. Don Scruggs. Don, you're missing the whole Georgia story. Thank God I'm here to set the Bulldogs straight. Don, let's get to the picks so we can get to the Georgia Bulldogs. Why the Georgia Bulldogs are going to steamroll the Texas Longhorns. We got to get to it because this key might unlock everything else for the Bulldogs this year. Remember, I predicted Georgia to win the national championship last year. I might have been 1 year too early. Greg the Gold might have been 1 year too early. Buckle up, brace for impact, Georgia Bulldogs. Okay, let's get to it. I know y'all busy. I know y'all are busy, so we got a big show here. All right. Okay, here we go. You guys go first. You guys go first. You guys go first. All right? Let's do this thing. Does Louisville and Jeff Brom, there is news out there that Jeff Brom looks like he's going to be signing an extension with the Louisville Cardinals, with his Alameda. So Jeff Brom, we really don't have him on any of our hot board lists because we thought he would stick with Louisville. But, there was always that possibility. Jeff Brom looks like he's off the market. So the candidate list to fill all these positions is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Does Louisville cover the -2.5 point spread versus Clemson? Whoops. If you vote yes, you're taking the Cardinals and you're willing to give 2.5 points. If you vote no, you're taking the Tigers and you want those 2.5 points. The voting begins now. Go Black 45. I don't trust Manning to win on the road. And I don't fully trust Georgia's defense to stop a team with offensive consistency. Don't trust Georgia's defense to stop a good offense. Got it. K. Newin, BYU needs Texas to lose. I agree with you, and I happen to think it's going to happen, Kay. Unfortunately, I've been Greg the Cooler for 4 straight weeks, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, baby. I'm feeling good. Don Scruggs, Georgia should be favored to win the Natty. Well, maybe they will be after I get done what I'm about to say, Don Scruggs. 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 75% of you take Louisville. Well, I can tell you right away that the PATC Gridiron Einsteins are off to a very slow start. But then again, I ripped on you guys last week, and you all did 3 games better than I did. So maybe I should keep my big mouth shut. The next game. Very important game. Think about it before you vote. Let it marinate. I'm going to give you extra time on this game. My beloved Golden Gophers getting 25.5 points versus the mighty Oregon Ducks. Here we go. Here we go. Does Oregon cover the -25.5 points versus beloved Golden Gophers? If you vote yes, you should be condemned and you want to give 25.5 points and take Oregon. If you vote no, well, you are a genius and you want 25.5 points and you take the Golden Gophers. The voting begins now. Come on, guys. Come on, guys and gals. Let's go. Let's go. Go Black 45. Is Moore playing for Oregon? I think he is. They've got a lot of nicked up players. I don't know if Oregon's second string can beat the Gophers' first string by 25. Maybe by 20. Maybe by 17. 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 58% says no. The Golden Gopher propaganda has worked. The PATC community takes the Minnesota Golden Gophers. The money line on that game is plus 2,000 on Minnesota. Put down $100. Put down one honey. The Gophers win. The Gophers get a miracle, and you win $2,000. That's how bad the Golden Gophers' metrics are. Horrific on a grand scale. Notre Dame versus Pittsburgh. Boy, this is a very interesting game. Both teams, again, I know a lot of you don't like Notre Dame, a lot of you don't like the Panthers, but there's a lot of dudes in this game that are going to be playing on Sundays. Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, Leonard Moore, the great cornerback. He's still got one more year he has to play for Notre Dame. Pittsburgh Panthers have got those linebackers, and they've got Desmond Reed, and they got that redshirt quarterback. There are dudes on this football field. This is going to be a very interesting game. Does Notre Dame cover the minus 11.5 point spread versus Pittsburgh? If you vote yes, you're taking the Irish, and you're willing to give 11.5 points. If you vote no, you're taking the Panthers, and you are receiving 11.5 points. The voting begins now. Sammy Hammond, Texas is playing no good. That is why Georgia wins. All right. Okay. All right. You may be correct, but that's not what I'm pointing to. There is a big reason why the Bulldogs are going to win in a landslide against the Longhorns. And nobody has picked up on it yet. Minnesota isn't a MAC team. That spread is ridiculous. Well, Minnesota Golden Gophers, sorry Gopher fans, but our beloved Golden Gophers metrics are of a MAC team. Except for that Nebraska game. And that's because Nebraska has a psychological issue against the Gophers. Every other game, the Gophers have been beaten up. So we'll see. 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 82% says no. Notre Dame will not cover. Wow. The community, the PATC family takes the Panthers in a landslide. We got South Carolina Gamecocks, Texas A&M Aggies. Does Texas A&M, it's a pretty big spread here. I know there's some stuff going on internally at Columbia, but South Carolina. But this is a pretty big spread against that Gamecocks defense. Does Texas A&M cover the minus 18.5 point spread versus South Carolina? If you vote yes, you want the Aggies and give 18.5 points. If you vote no, you want the South Carolina Gamecocks and 18.5 points. The voting begins now. John Grove, I'm noticing a slight Minnesota accent when Greg says Aggies. No one has ever said that I have a slight Minnesota accent. Everybody has said that I got a massive Minnesota accent. Very difficult to listen to. Very difficult to listen to. Not just when I'm singing, but when I'm talking. 5 more seconds on the vote. Jared Jones says, nope, Aggies are not going to cover. 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're in overtime. Next vote decides it. Next, there it is. 52% says yes. That vote went into overtime. It was 50-50. The next vote decided it. The Texas A&M, the Einsteins just barely takes Texas A&M. Okay, well, this is a pivotal game. Does USF on the road cover the minus 10.5 point spread versus Navy? If you vote yes, you're willing to give 10.5 points and you're taking the Bulls. If you vote no, that means you want the midshipmen and 10.5 points. The voting begins now. Vox Quindaro, you do not want to hear my accent when I say Aggies. Aggies. This seems to be a landslide. Seems to be a landslide. 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 62% says yes. South Florida is going to cover on the road against Navy. Very interesting. Now, this Iowa USC game. Very interesting game. Does USC cover the minus 6.5 point spread? Whoops. Versus Iowa. If you vote yes, you want the Trojans and willing to give 6.5 points. If you want the Hawkeyes, well, you're going to vote no and you're going to get 6.5. The voting begins now. Go Black 45 says, no, USF defense is not consistent enough. Interesting. Jared Jones says the Trojans cover. So does Kenneth Maynor. We're going to give 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 59% of you take USC. 59% USC Trojans. North Carolina State going to Miami. Does Miami cover the minus 14.5 point spread versus NC State? If you vote yes, that means you want Miami and you're willing to give 14.5 points. If you vote no, that means you want the Wolfpack and you're going to receive 14.5 points. The voting begins now. BLG, Miami wins but does not cover. Kenneth Maynor, Miami spanks the Wolfpack. BLG says USC easily covers. Don Scruggs, Trojans cover. Go Black 45, I hate to admit it, but the USC is gaining some momentum. Don Scruggs does his weekly Beck is overrated. Go Black 45, the ACC is still chaotic. Miami still have a shot. 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 57% of you take the Miami Hurricanes. All right. Virginia and Duke. Big ACC clash. Both football teams have a shot to represent the ACC in the ACC championship game. Does Duke cover minus 5.5 point spread versus Virginia? Whoops. If you vote yes, you're taking the Blue Devils and you're willing to give 5.5 points. If you vote no, you're taking the Cavaliers and you want those 5.5 points. The voting begins now. Go Black 45. Virginia's offense is nothing without Chandler Morris. Kenneth Maynard, Duke wins at home. I have a very strong opinion about this football game. I think it's an absolute lock. 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 63% says no. The PATC community is taking Virginia Cavaliers. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Alabama, Oklahoma. I have an announcement to make. This Saturday, I've got a lot of scheduling issues. However, I should be able to come on live at 3 o'clock Eastern and do the 3:30 Eastern game, Oklahoma at Alabama. That is going to be the PATC watch party game this weekend. I'm not able to do the noon Eastern games. I'm not able to do the whole 7:30 Eastern primetime games. The 3:30 time slot, 3:30 Eastern time is the only ones I can do. Oklahoma, Alabama is going to be our PATC watch party. And we were due to do an SEC clash again. So it's Oklahoma at Alabama. All right. Does Alabama cover the minus 6.5 point spread versus Oklahoma? If you vote yes, you're willing to give 6.5 points, you want Bama. If you vote no, you want the 6.5 points, and you take it Oklahoma. The voting begins now. Prior to week 12, prior to today's live show, we have predicted 132 games during the season. We've done this 132 times going into these 12 games. So I just want to thank you guys for doing this. It's a lot of fun. 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 95% says Alabama. The last time we had a landslide like that is when you all took West Virginia to cover a game and they did not. I can't remember what game that was. Alabama is the pick. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Memphis, East Carolina. Very important game in the American. Does East Carolina cover the minus 2.5 point spread versus Memphis? If you want East Carolina, you're going to vote yes, willing to give 2.5 points. If you want Memphis, you're going to vote no. The voting begins now. Vox Quindaro, we're professionals, Flugar. We don't walk out in the middle of a losing record. Well, you're a lot more professional than I am. I tell you that. 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 76% takes East Carolina. The Pirates. Wow. Kenneth Maynard, ECU makes a statement. Beats Memphis the 3rd time in a row. All right. We got a couple more games to go. Texas, Georgia. You all know who I'm taking. Does Georgia cover the -6.5 point spread versus Texas? If you want the Bulldogs, vote yes, willing to give 6.5 points. If you want the Longhorns and receive 6.5 points, you vote no. The voting begins now. MBM not being affected by his biasness. Georgia stomps a hole in the Shorthorns' chest. Bill G, Bulldogs roll. K. Newin, of course, Gold Dogs. Gold Black 45 only has Georgia winning by 5 points. Don Scruggs is undecided on this. 5 more seconds on the vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 80% takes Georgia. I'm very proud of you Einsteins. But again, none of you has named the reason why Georgia Bulldogs are going to blow the doors off the Longhorns. Thank God I'm here to explain to you when I make the pick why Georgia is going to roll. TCU, BYU. The last game. Can BYU get off the mat? Are they going to have the Red Raiders beat them twice? The Horned Frogs still got a whole lot of things ahead of them. Does BYU cover the -4.5 point spread versus TCU? If you want the Cougars, you're going to vote yes and willing to give 4.5 points. If you want the Horned Frogs, you're going to vote no and you are going to receive 4.5 points. The voting begins now. Five more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 72% takes BYU. Okay. Alrighty, guys. So let me do my picks, and then we'll go through both of our picks once again. And then I want to talk a little bit about strategic partnership, transforming the conferences. Okay, here we go. Clemson, Louisville. I got the Clemson Tigers. I don't think Louisville Cardinals, great running back, Isaac Brown, now he's all nicked up again. Jeff Brom is talking about how he doesn't know if Millie Moss is going to be the quarterback. I think Clemson is going to get a little bit of a bounce off their performance against the Seminoles. This game is a 1-point affair either way, possibly overtime. Overall, I'm going to take the Clemson Tigers to cover plus 2.5. Minnesota and Oregon. We are going to be doing a Friday night watch party 2 days from now on this game. The reason why I'm doing that is because I think it's only fair that I open up the chat room and I open up the opportunity for the PATC family to throw elbows at the Golden Gophers. I think it's only fair. It's gonna be an absolute blowout. The question is, how big is the blowout gonna be? I believe there's gonna be a little rain. I don't know how much that is going to help. I mean, Oregon beat Iowa at Iowa City, something that Minnesota can't do. In the rain, Iowa blew the hell out of the Gophers this year. So I don't know if the rain is even going to help. However, when I do this watch party, at the beginning of it, before kickoff, when you join us and watch the watch party, I'm going to be playing inspirational music. I am going to be getting up on my soapbox, and I'm going to be rallying around the Golden Gophers. We are going to row the boat against the storm, against the Ducks, and the Minnesota Golden Gophers are going to cover and lose by 25 points. Book it. That's what's going to happen. That is exactly what's going to happen come Friday night. The Gophers are going to be down 32 points. Drake Lindsey, 2-minute Drake Lindsey, going to drive the field. The Gophers are going to score against the Ducks third stringers. The Gophers lose by 25, and we cover. That's it. That is the lock. That is the lock. I got Minnesota. Notre Dame at Pittsburgh. I got the Panthers. Oh, man, the Panthers are going to, I think they're absolutely going to bring it. And the Fighting Irish are going to have to, the Fighting Irish are not going to be able to have this where they sleep through the first quarter. They've got to be ready to play at kickoff. And if there's any weakness in Marcus Freeman's Notre Dame's preparation, sometimes they're not awake at the beginning of the game. South Carolina, Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M can be had against a good rushing offense. The problem is that's not the Gamecocks. Terrible matchup for the Gamecocks. Texas A&M blows out South Carolina by way more than 18.5 points. South Florida, Navy. I'm right with you guys. I think South Florida covers. I think it's going to be I think Navy is going to have some success, but I think South Florida pours it on in the second half. The Bulls cover. Iowa at USC. I got USC. You guys know I have USC. USC, that running game, I think USC covers. North Carolina State, Miami. Again, I think Miami's going to start slow again. And they're going to be hurt more by it than when they started out slow against Stanford. And I can't remember who they played last week. So I think the Wolfpack does stay within 14.5 points. Miami wins but does not cover. I got NC State. Virginia at Duke. Well, I get it. Chandler Morris nicked up. Virginia's offense has been horrific. But Vox Quindaro at quarterback. MBM at tight end. K. Nurin at left tackle. Ryan Willie at fullback. Go Black 45 at wideout. John Grove, the other wideout. The almighty Finn at the slot. That offense would be able to score against the Duke Blue Devils defense. Therefore, I'm going to be taking the Cavaliers to cover by 5.5 points. We have PATC, Greg the Cooler, soon to be Greg the Gold again. I'm taking the Virginia Cavaliers. Oklahoma and Alabama, I don't think this is going to be close. I'm surprised it's -6.5. I respect the Sooners. I respect John Mateer, but Alabama is going to roll big. We've got Bama. Memphis at East Carolina. You've got Hauser versus Brandon Lewis. Not really. Brandon Lewis has been nicked up the last couple of weeks. So we got to take the Pirates. Pirates, Hauser, the quarterback, senior leadership. The Pirates cover -2.5. Texas and Georgia. You know what? We'll get back to that. Give me a moment. We'll get back to Texas and Oklahoma. TCU, BYU. We've got BYU. BYU Cougars are going to get off the mat. They're not going to let the Red Raiders and the Horned Frogs beat them twice. BYU Cougars do cover, but I think it's going to be a very close competitive game. Not going to be a blowout. Not going to be a blowout. Something like 27-20. BYU Cougars win. Superman Bear Bachmeier comes back to have a very good game. BYU covered. Now, Texas and Georgia. Why is Georgia going to blow the doors off the Longhorns? Well, you know, I don't like to brag about myself. I'm a very humbled person. You guys know about that, me. I don't, once in a while I get something right. And once in a while, Greg the Cooler gets something right. And when I do, I don't really like to highlight it. I don't like to highlight it. So this is, I feel very uncomfortable saying what I'm about to say. But Don Scruggs, the rest of you Bulldogs, everybody in the chat room, the reason why the Georgia Bulldogs are going to blow out the Texas Longhorns is the following. Are you ready? Kirby Smart finally listened to the fat guy of Minnesota. Kirby Smart, finally somebody said, don't you know what the fat guy from Minnesota is saying about the Georgia Bulldogs? Haven't you listened to the fat guy? Don't you know what he's saying? What should you do, Kirby Smart? What should you do? What should you do? Now can you tell me? Now can you tell me what I'm about to say, Vox Quindaro, Don Scruggs? What should Kirby Smart do with that offense? What should he do? says, Deadeye, Nate Frazier, Don Scruggs, Frazier must run. Al Woody, Frazier gets the ball. Of course, Nate Frazier against Mississippi State. He carried the rock 12 times for 181 yards. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And you know what I've done? You know what I've done? I have kept my mouth shut. I came here on Sunday. I came here on Monday. I came here on Tuesday. I haven't said a word about Nate Frazier. I come here, and I wasn't going to say, but I had a, come on. Give Frazier the rock. Get him lathered up. 12 times, he still only got the ball 12 times. Give him the ball. Give him the football. And I finally believe that Kirby Smart's offense is going to give the ball to Nate Frazier. And he's going to run all over the Longhorns. Of course he is. He's ready to go. They finally got confidence. He's not going to fumble it. Give him the rock. Give him the rock. Kirby Smart is finally listening. That is why the Georgia Bulldogs are going to blow the Texas Longhorns out. And this is the turning point for the Georgia Bulldogs. This is a seminal moment. If they play Texas and Nate Frazier runs wild, that is going to help Gunnar Stockton with his quarterback design runs, RPO, play action to Nate Frazier, and all that goes with it. This is the moment that the Georgia Bulldogs can rise and be the national champions. All they have to do is give the rock to Nate Frazier. Frazier. That's it. That is the key that unlocks everything for the Georgia Bulldogs. All right. Georgia would have beaten Alabama if he would not have fumbled that. Okay, well, look. Don Scruggs, sometimes you have to crack a few eggs to make an omelet. Not sometimes, always. Nate Frazier has to get, you got to play him. He's got to get rid of that. You can't be like, give him the ball. Give him the football, Don Scruggs. Okay. All right, enough of that. Give him 25, yes, give him the ball 25 times. 20 rushes, 5 catches, and a couple of fumbles. All right. Okay, so that is our picks. So I got Clemson. We'll go through it real quick here again. And then we'll get back into some other talks. I got Clemson. You got Louisville. We both got Minnesota. We both got Pittsburgh. We both took Texas A&M. We both took South Florida. We both took USC. I took the Wolfpack. You guys took Miami. We both took Virginia. We both took Alabama. We both took East Carolina. We both took Georgia. And we both took BYU. So there's only a couple different games. Miami, North Carolina State, and Clemson and Louisville. After all of that, there's only a couple of different games. Anybody remember when Ali told Frazier to sit down Joe on the Howard Cosell show? Vox Gandaro. Do you remember when Howard Cosell was announcing the George Foreman-Joe Frazier fight? And it was, Foreman's hurt, Foreman's hurt, Foreman's hurt. Frazier's down! Frazier's down! Anyways, going back to my childhood. Okay, we've got some very generous super chats that I got to get to here. MBM, holy smokes. Holy smokes. MBM, thank you, Mr. Cowboy. I would appreciate it. Greg, it would behoove the channel to select watch parties that would allow the mariachi in the third quarter. Perhaps a new tradition when it's not close, go Pokes. It would behoove the channel. But I don't know, I get it. We're this Friday night, we're not going to be listening to the mariachi music. I try to do a double watch parties. We do a primary game and a secondary game, so we kind of double up our chances. But when the game is not close, should we have a different song? I think that is a very good idea, MBM. And I'm going to try to follow through on that. Okay, MBM? I think you're absolutely correct. Thank you, sir. Go Pokes. Go Oklahoma State Cowboys. Thank you for your incredible generosity, MBM. Thank you so much. I think that's a very, very good idea. Ryan Willie comes in with a super chat. Ryan Willie is going to have a great Friday night. Ryan Willie is going to he's going to have a bowl of popcorn. He's going to have his diet Dr. Pepper. He'll probably have some cheese somewhere. He's going to have his Badger sweatshirt on. And he's going to be watching Fox in Eugene, Oregon, Austin Stadium, and Ryan Willie is going to be watching the Oregon Ducks plaster my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers. So Ryan Willie, congratulations for this Friday night. You deserve it. After the very difficult season you've had, after all the elbows that I have thrown your way, you deserve this beautiful Evil Badger night that is going to be coming Friday night because of the mighty Oregon Ducks. Thank you, Ryan Willie, for your super chat. I very much appreciate it. We got Buck Wargo. Thank you, Ryan Willie. Buck Wargo, thank you so much for the super chat. I very much appreciate your kindness, sir. Thank you for helping us keep the lights on. Super chat from Buck Wargo. Thank you for coming on in. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Florida man, play another one, bites the dust when the game's not close. You know, I got to look at copyright stuff on that. It's got to be something that I can do. But I'll take a look at it. Good idea, Florida man. Good idea. Steel Austin, I knew I liked them Badgers. Thank you, Buck. Thank you, sir. Anthony Carlson, a member of 19 months. Holy smokes. 19 months. Anthony Carlson, you are knighted, cloak, and dagger. Wonderful. We're on probation now, Greg. We have to vacate all of our wins from 22 to 24. I saw that in the news. Again, it was a Michigan State, what's the term I'm trying to use? They turned themselves in, right? Internally, they said, whoa, and they turned themselves in. So much respect to the Spartans, if I got the story right. Anthony Carlson, good times are coming. Someday they're going to come again, Anthony Carlson, in East Lansing. I promise you that. I promise you that. Thank you so very much for your generosity. Appreciate it, sir. PATC does not have a legal department. Nope. Okay. Okay, so I do want to get into a little bit of this again. Let me first find it. And then we're going to get to phone calls. Let me get a little bit organized here. Once again, we made our picks against the spread. Okay. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. I apologize. Let me get set up here. So, you know, I've been going back and forth with some college football reporters, and I do enjoy the give and take, going back and forth. I do want to bring up a comment here, and this is going to lead into the discussion. Once I find it. Okay. John Wilner, Mercury News, puts out a comment. Have spoken to sources with expertise in revenue generation, sponsorship, branding, etc. And they all said something to the effect of, the Big Ten doesn't need to create Big Ten enterprises in order to achieve the same results. Notion that BTE is the only way to unlock riches is a fallacy. Okay. True to a certain extent. You don't need to create Big Ten enterprises to achieve riches. I mean, and you do not need to create, you don't need to do the UC investment deal to create Big Ten enterprises. You can create Big Ten enterprises and not do the investment deal. You're going to have to find a different way to pay for Big Ten enterprises, which in part is part of the UC investment deal. But you can do Big Ten enterprises without the investment deal, and you can find a different way to get more riches without the Big Ten enterprises. All that is true. But whatever you're going to do to have transformation in your conference, to have true transformation in your conference, the Southeastern Conference, the Big 12, the ACC, and the Big 10 have all gone down the same road. I mean, maybe not the same road, but the same, they're looking for the same thing. And that is a strategic partner. They're looking for expertise. That's what they want. And you know how you get expertise? You get expertise by having them enjoy the same fruit of their labor that they would give to you. You give them a stake. If they're giving you resources and they're giving you your expertise, you have to give them a stake in the conference. They're all looking for expertise. They're all looking for someone that has the resources. They're all looking for something that have a great track record. They want to bring in a third party. We've talked about this. We talked about it at the beginning of the program. We've talked about it for months. They're all looking for a strategic partner. In fact, I brought up that phrase over and over and over again. And then the following week, Brett Yormark put out a memorandum saying we have been looking for a strategic partner. They're all doing it. That's the phrase they're all using. The Big Ten Enterprises is an option to bring in expertise. Okay, it may not be the best option. It may be a horrible option. But that is what the Big Ten is doing. That's what the Southeastern Conference has been looking at. That's why the Big 12 went down the road of private equity, 25% stake, 20% stake. And they want to bring in a strategic partner that has connections, that has relationships with big sponsorship, with big corporations. So it isn't that if you create the Big Ten Enterprises, you don't necessarily have to do the UC investment. But remember, the deal has it where the Big Ten Enterprises has like 10 board members, and one of them is going to be UC Investment, and there's going to be a CEO who's going to get paid a lot of money. And the better UC Investment does, the better the Big Ten schools do. The more money UC Investment makes on their investment, the more money that the Big Ten schools make. The danger for the Big Ten schools is UC Investment doesn't make what they think they're going to make. And then that means the Big Ten schools are not going to make as much as that they thought they were going to make. The Big Ten wants the expertise in-house and give them the motivation to make a lot of money, because if they do, we do. And this has been going on at universities forever, at public universities. Let me give you an example. I put on my X account an hour before we did this live program. This can't possibly be University of Minnesota letting the University of Michigan letting the wolf get his foot in the door. Allocation and strategy. University of Michigan, as of June 24, venture capital and private equity made up 39.4% of the University of Michigan's investment portfolio. Long-term strategy. The endowment is managed with long-term strategy to maximize total return over time, as outlined in the Regents of the University of Michigan's reports. So, Jordan Acker and the rest of the Board of Regents at Michigan, you've been having private equity come in at the University of Michigan and making a whole lot of money for your school. Truth. Private equity is making a whole lot of money for themselves, and they're making a whole lot of money for Michigan's endowment. Is there something wrong with that? Because that is a risk. That is a gamble. Michigan may go down a little bit in the endowment because they might have not selected the correct private equity. It just so happens, if you go ahead and Google it, Michigan has been doing outstanding in their return because of the relationship, because of the risks they've taken with private equity. Diversification, private equity is part of a broader asset allocation that also includes real estate, absolute return, market traded equity, cash, and fixed income, as in common in the endowment model of investing. Yeah, of course. And now go Google your school. Go ahead, Google it. Google your school. The endowment part of your school uses private equity. Now, I get it. Greg, it ain't the same thing. No, it's not. It's apples and oranges. It's apples and oranges. That's not what you see. Check it out. Hedge funds are known to cut costs, operating expenses, laugh. This ain't this though, right? We know there's examples of that. Check it out. But again, there's a whole bunch of different variations of what happens out there. So to keep going back to that one example, that's fallacy. Like, it's apples and oranges. It is. But the core of it is the same. Why is Michigan Endowment using private equity as part of their portfolio to invest their money, Michigan's money? Why are they using private equity? Because overall, it has turned out to be a very good deal for Michigan because of the track record of what they use, what private equity, the relationship. They're getting the benefit. Private equity is getting the benefit. Michigan is getting the benefit. Private equity is getting the benefit. And when Michigan gets the benefit, then a lot of Michigan is getting the benefit. Not just the student athlete, the pension, the faculty. And so if you say that this is only good for the University of Michigan pension, but it can't possibly work for an athletic conference, this can't happen because they're public universities, I call bullocks on that. In fact, it is going to happen. It may not happen with this model. It may not happen. I got a feeling that they're not going to let Jordan Acker, the guy who reposted Matt Hayes' hatchet piece, I got a feeling if this goes down, it's not going to be of Jordan Hacker. They're going to make sure that one guy is not going to bring this down. But it may not be this model. It may not be this model, which brings in experts, which brings in expertise to grow the revenue pie of a conference, to modernize the conference. It may not be exactly this model. This might be thrown out, something better might come. But it's going to be something. The hours spent that Big Ten has done on this deal, and the hours spent that the other conferences have explored deals, there is a need for this. These college football reporters, I have been nice today. I've been nice, and I'm going to continue to be nice. But I've been continue to be nice to the college football reporters today on this show. Hold on a second. I got to clean something up. Hold on one more moment. But they keep talking about how, oh my goodness, the Big Ten needs more money. Oh my goodness. The Big Ten is the wealthiest conference in the country, and they need more money. Why is that? Why is that? And they're going to let the wolf in the door. They're going to let the wolf in the door. I got a couple of things on that. One is college football and college sports has changed. And the football reporters, tip of the cap to them, they wanted this change. And they were right to have this change. The cost of doing this operation, these conferences, have gone straight up because labor is actually getting what they have deserved for a very long time. So, and you still have Title IX, and you have the Big Ten, who sponsors way more sports than the Southeastern Conference. Do you understand that, Matt Hayes? Again, I'm going to try to be nice. So, what the Big Ten is exploring is the same thing that the NBA has done, the MLB, the NFL. They're bringing in experts. They're bringing in private equity, private capital. They're bringing in third party, and they're building larger partnerships. These conferences, just like the University of Michigan, at its core, does not have the expertise to invest all their millions of dollars and to get the best return. They don't have that core. They don't. So part of their portfolio is private equity companies. The same thing with athletic conferences going forward. They don't have the core. They don't have the ability to. So that's why this is happening. The transformation, the transforming the conferences, that is what's going on. The Big Ten Conference. Again, this is an apples and oranges comparison. The Big Ten Conference, years ago, had a sugar daddy. That sugar daddy was Fox Sports. That sugar daddy loaned the Big Ten a whole lot of money to build the Big Ten network. In return, the Big Ten schools, all of them got an equity stake. Does that sound familiar? In the Big Ten Conference, which, by the way, the Southeastern Conference teams do not have. They don't have ownership of the Southeastern Conference network. Neither does the ACC schools. But I digress. The Big Ten schools, in return to pay back Fox, had their revenue from the Big Ten network withheld from them for 5 to 6 years. That money went back to Fox Sports in the building of the network. There was risks. There was a sugar daddy. There was a belief that this would create more revenue from their third-tier, non-revenue Olympic sports content. There was a belief, and when the Big Ten went down that road, 95% of the college football reporters not only disagreed with the Big Ten, but they mocked them. Now, at the time, I chalked it up to, well, the Big Ten ruffled a lot of feathers back then. They separated themselves from ESPN, the mothership. Big Ten, Jim Delaney sitting across from ESPN. Jim Delaney says, you are undervaluing our other sports besides football and and we're going to create a network for those, a conference network. And ESPN said, well, go ahead and roll those dice. And Jim Delaney said back to ESPN, considered them rolled. So if the Big Ten goes down the same road again, it's apples and oranges. But if the Big Ten, once again, decides to try to build something, the Big Ten Enterprises, and bring in expertise, and knowing that they're giving them a 10% stake, and they're getting an infusion of cash, but they believe that this is going to make them more money in the long run. And of course, you got 95% of the college football reporters mocking them once again. Well, I hope Tony Petitti has the testicular fortitude to say to everybody, considered those dice rolled. That is my message for today. By hook or by crook, I hope this thing happens. Because something is going to happen. And this seems to be the best deal possible. Maybe there's a better one. And you remember Jordan Acker promised that he would give a better options to the Big Ten. You just got to give him more time. Jordan Acker, he ain't looking for a better deal. There ain't no better deal out there. And he ain't looking for it. Allegedly. So, anyways, let me get to your super chats. Let me get to your phone calls. I appreciate you all coming on in. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Once you subscribe to our channel, make sure you turn on the notifications because we can come on live at any time. Kenneth Maynor, we know Kenneth Maynor is looking. Kenneth Maynor, hopefully Tim Pernetti is working on that rumored strategic partnership for the American. He has. He's one of the first. Tim Pernetti was one of the first to give everybody the warning. We're open for business, just like Brett Yormark, and they are going to be bringing in a strategic partner. And it might look different from the Big Ten. It might work better than the Big Ten. We don't know. We'll find out. Rod Nix is in the house. Thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it. Thank you, Kenneth Maynard, for your $5 holla. We got another super chat. What the Big Ten, Kenneth Maynard, super chat. What the Big Ten is doing, what the American wants to do at the G5 level. Pernetti wants to be the G5 National Conference, getting in the CFP yearly. Thank you, Kenneth Maynard, for the $5 holler. I happen to believe we're probably not going to hear much from the American on this until we get through this Big Ten process, whether they do it or don't do it. I think the Big Ten strategic partnership domino will probably fall first before the American domino, but we shall see. Thank you, Kenneth Maynard, for your $5 holla, for your generosity once again. Michael Haas, Greg, my IRA is up 200% over the last 5 years. I'm applying to Michigan. Helms Light. This kind of makes sense. It is similar to people that hire financial planners when they don't have the expertise. Absolutely. And not only does UC Investment have expertise, and not only do private equity firms have expertise as they take part of the University of Michigan endowment portfolio, not only do they have expertise, but they have connections. And but anyways, thank you, Helms Light. I agree with you. I think Michigan's problem is not the deal, it's the Gore. Expedition Greg, thanks for coming on in. According to Jordan Acker, the deal is the problem. He doesn't want the deal. So, I don't know. Maybe there is different thoughts within the Board of Regents at Michigan. No question about it. Okay, we're going to open up the phone lines here. We're going to open them up. Going to make sure, yes, I got everything. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1336. 1-333-763-260. 1-333.
Call from
Rick, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Well, we get the phones working again. Good.
I hope they are.
I'm trying to think of a name that's used for. Is it a contingency clause that the Big Ten has in the event Notre Dame wants to join?
Yeah, well, I don't know what it's called, but it is written in the distribution contract with CBS, NBC, and Fox, and Peacock, which is NBC. In other words, it's already written in there where if Notre Dame joined, everyone would make a certain more amount of money. And it's already been agreed upon. And Notre Dame knows what that number is. NBC knows what that number is. CBS knows. And they've all agreed to it. And it's all in the contract. It's all sealed. We can't see it. It's trade secret. But it's already done and dealed if Notre Dame ever picked up the phone.
I wonder if they're doing that same contingency clause for the pending deal that's going on for Notre Dame, North Carolina, and Virginia with regard to the equity spread.
I haven't confirmed that, but everybody that I've talked to believes that has to be a part of it. That some of that has been war gamed out. What is the mechanism for slotting in a team? What would their stake be? What type of media share would they get in, and all of that? So yeah, but I haven't got that confirmed.
Yeah, a provision for allowing them to enjoy the benefits of Big Ten enterprises if they were going to come over, and that could be a tipping point. No. For North Carolina and Virginia in making their decision?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is speculation on my part. Possibly yes, and I would lean towards being more impactful. I better not. Yes, I think it would be somewhat impactful. I don't know if it's enough to do anything, but I think. Jeez. Let me put it. Let me put it to you this way, Rick. I promise you that if this happens, if 16 teams sign this deal, that we're going to have 1,000 different discussions on that, and that is one of the primary discussions we are going to be having. We'll just put it that way.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I really don't want to. I would think yes, it would be impactful. I just don't know how big.
And I don't think USC and Michigan would wait too long after it went into effect and the money started rolling in before they changed their mind. I mean, they'd have 10 years to think about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to say this, like, overall, if this happens, it would act as an accelerant for the next wave of disruption. Whatever was going to happen, this is gasoline being thrown on that, and the match is being lit. It's an accelerant. It's going to put pressure on everybody to make a quicker decision. So.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's too bad.
Yeah. I mean, if this deal gets done, again, it's a big if this deal gets done, there's going to be a lot of schools and a lot of conferences that are going to be looking at this and going, well, holy smokes, what if that works? What if it works? What if the college football reporters, the vast majority of them, have this wrong? And what if this works? Well, now we're just even further behind. And we need to have our own ACC enterprises fueled by expertise in which they get a stake in their decisions that hopefully benefits us and benefits them. The North Carolina ain't going to want to fall further behind. My God, Virginia, Florida State, Clemson, and then the Big 12 schools are going to be doing the same thing. So they're all going to be clamoring. They're all going to have their meetings within their conference. There are already true believers in those conferences about all of this. And then you've got the accelerant of Florida State really like, come on, Big Ten, what do you need us to do? Like, everyone's going to be calling the SEC and the Big Ten, because if they don't get an invite during this accelerant times, that's the best way I can say it, then these schools in the ACC and the Big 12, to not fall further behind the Big Ten, they're going to have to sign these extended grant of rights for this expertise to come in, right? So it's an accelerant on everything. That's the best way I can, in a very short time, to war game this out. Would you agree, Rick?
There's just a few lifeboats.
Yes.
I mean, there are lifeboats, but in both conferences, but there aren't a lot of them. I'm glad that the Big Ten doesn't care about the repercussions. I'm glad that the Big Ten is doing what's best for the Big Ten.
I think that's the best way.
If there are repercussions, so be it.
Yeah. I actually was talking with that person that I was talking with somebody, Rick, and I said, what's the worst case scenario on this type of deal for the Big Ten? Like, what? I mean, could they be taken over, obviously? I mean, what is the worst case? And the person said to me, well, that's the point. The worst case isn't all that bad. And the best case scenario is incredible. Like, the worst case scenario for the Big Ten, if they do this deal, that UC Investment doesn't quite get what they thought in return. So therefore, the Big Ten schools don't quite get back in what they return. In other words, they come a little bit short of what their projections would be without the deal. That they think that's the worst case scenario. But the best case scenario, the benefits outweigh the risk greatly. Go ahead, sir.
But they still keep the $2.4 billion.
Yeah. And they can, and they still get the medium. It's just they don't quite come out ahead with the deal. But it ain't going to be like the whole thing collapses and they lose. The dramatic stories being said about this, none of that is true. Like, this might not be a good deal for the Big Ten, but it ain't going to be like, anyway, their belief is big. The worst case scenario, the benefits far outweigh the risks on this deal, and that's why they're willing to do it.
Not nominal risk and heavy return.
Yeah.
Heavy return on value. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I wonder what the SEC would do if they were in the same position.
I think they probably can get into a similar position rather quickly if this thing happens.
I agree. I just think they don't like not being first.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the call.
You got it. Appreciate it, buddy.
Call from
Yo, Austin.
Hello.
Call from
Chris Kenny.
Chris Kenny, I am going to have to, let's see here. Go ahead, Chris Kenny. I think I got a little time left. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I'll be quick.
Got it.
I thought, your tweet this morning about kind of the totally opposite reactions to Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC versus the West Coast expansion that the Big Ten has done it's very appropriate right now because it kind of cuts at the core of what's going on with this deal. Because one thing that I've sort of like not really understood, but I think I maybe have a better idea of like, why is it this deal that everybody hates so much? Like everyone, we talked about yesterday why everyone hates the Big Ten. Right? ESPN hates them because Big Ten succeeded without them. And the outsiders, people who, whose schools want to be in the Big Ten but aren't in the Big Ten, hate the Big Ten because they resent those who are in the club. I think the SEC probably hates the Big Ten less, but there's a lot of animosity to the Big Ten from the SEC in the last 2 years for obvious reasons, which is the new landscape that we are living in, which the Big Ten, I think, again, very piously and very self-righteously opposed for a long time, is now legal, and they're actually thriving in it. And there's sort of an unpleasant irony for those who are recognizing now that when you can pay players directly, when players can move more freely, the Big Ten has the resources to compete in that kind of an environment, and they're actually succeeding. And, where the SEC was getting in trouble for doing a lot of those things over the last 40 years under the table, the Big Ten is now actually succeeding now that it can all be done out in the open. And I think there is absolutely a degree of resentment that somehow Indiana doesn't belong and Illinois doesn't belong. Well, too bad. The rules have changed, the world has changed, and they're thriving in that environment. And that means those who dominated the sport for 15 years prior have to make room for others who now can compete in this new regime. That's just too bad. But then so that's why people don't like the Big Ten, but that's not that new. Why do they dislike this deal so much? And you hit it. They say, why does the Big Ten need more money? The Big Ten is so greedy. The Big Ten killed the Pac-12 by going west. Look how greedy they are. Now they want to do this new deal and get more money. They're so greedy. But here's the deal. I don't think that what people are really mad about is that the Big Ten is wealthy. I don't think that they really are mad about the fact that the Big Ten expanded. I think they're really mad that the Big Ten is wealthy and expanded in the way that it accomplished those goals, right? Mm-hmm. Texas and OU join the SEC, and I don't blame the SEC for adding them. Every other conference would have done it the same way, and it sucks for the Big 12, and it was unfair to Bob Bowlesby. He thought he had a good negotiating partner when they were trying to expand the playoff, and he feels like he got stabbed in the back, and he had every reason to feel that way. And the SEC, candidly, along with ESPN, took a lot of heat. They didn't come out smelling like roses when that deal happened. They didn't take as much as the Big Ten's taken, but they did. Mm-hmm. But I think what pisses people off is how the Big Ten responded to that. What did the Big Ten do? Now, you can say the alliance was a joke and it was a total scam, and I agree, and I'm not defending it. I think there's a lot of things that Kevin Warren didn't do right. I think there's a lot of things he got wrong. I don't think he was the right fit long-term for the league, but he absolutely left the conference better off than when he found it. And the reason is because he negotiated the most lucrative broadcast deal in the history of college sports. And how did he do it? He used the alliance and he deliberately delayed the expansion of the playoff to 12 teams. And it was cloaked in resentment over the SEC's power grab. But I don't really think that's what it was about, because Kevin Warren would have added Oklahoma and Texas too. What he did is he allowed the Big Ten to have more room to maneuver while it was renegotiating its new media package. If the playoff had expanded at the time it was on track to do so, and let's say the Oklahoma-Texas thing never happened, or let's say Texas, Oklahoma happened and people didn't think it was a big deal for whatever reason, and expansion goes through, that sucks out a lot of money, and it takes several bidders out of the room to then bid on Big Ten rights. But by keeping the playoff off the market because they weren't agreeing to expansion, you still have more bidders in the market. ESPN was still bidding on Big Ten content, even though they weren't a serious bidder. They were still there and helping. The more bidders you have, the higher the price goes. And there's more money floating around. If ESPN and let's say Turner had come in to bid on an expanded playoff, that's less money floating around. That's less money that you can use, again, to bid up the price of your own media rights. So the Big Ten pulled off this absolute financial coup because it delayed the expansion of the playoff. And people hate that. It was a cynical move, but it paid off brilliantly. And there is absolutely lingering resentment about it. When Georgia beat TCU in the playoff, and Greg Sankey somehow has a speaking role at their pep rally after they won the national championship, he's taken shots at Kevin Warren for leaving to go to the Bears. Like, he can't let go of the resentment that he had for him and how he basically thought that he had played the field and ended up himself getting played at the end. And I think a lot of the reporters who were big cheerleaders for expansion of the playoffs, who wanted to see it go to 12, who couldn't understand why the Big Ten was being so disagreeable and so obstructionist. What are they doing? They realized that they had been played to, and that what was really going on here was an opportunity for not just the Big Ten to negotiate a huge new media deal, but to also do it with the two Los Angeles schools. And that's the reason why they're the richest conference in America right now. And now they look and see, here we go again. Who do these guys think they are? They're about to now pull off this another massive financial deal. Haven't they done enough? Don't they have enough money? Why are they being so greedy? And this last point I'll end on here. I will give the writers a little bit of credit, or at least a little bit of sympathy on this. I think there's a reason they keep calling it private equity, even though anybody who's actually looking at the facts will realize it's not quite right. It's not a private equity deal. But the reason they keep calling it private equity is because a lot of these guys work in an industry that itself has been through the ringer in private equity. A lot of media companies have been bought and sold and chopped up for parts through private equity deals that didn't work out. Sports Illustrated doesn't really exist anymore. It's basically a trademark on a website, but there really is no Sports Illustrated anymore. Matt Hayes was at the Sporting News. That's another victim of all of this private equity ownership. There are a lot of media companies that, due to other reasons beyond private equity, just the changes in technology and consumer tastes, that thought private equity would be their savior. It turns out it wasn't. It was always still a failing business model, and the PE guys got their money, and who's left to pick up the pieces? Writers who think they have their dream job and all of a sudden are sort of thrown out into the wilderness and have to scrap and claw to make a living. And now they see it's not just their industry that's gone through this, but the industry that they cover may now potentially be going down this road. And so they are so wildly scarred and traumatized from that experience. Understandably, I think that they're lashing out at the growth of, let's just say, private investment into college sports, which they think is going to result in the exact same outcome that their industry experienced. But they're allowing that to get in the way of actually seeing what the facts are, which is quite different. But the fact that it's the Big Ten that's doing it blinds them to that. So they've got a lot of history. They've got a lot of pent-up animosity towards the industry itself. They've got a lot of pent-up animosity towards the Big Ten. And now that the two of those forces are coming together and might actually succeed, I think people's heads are exploding. And I think that's the reason why you keep asking, why don't they call it what it really is? Mm-hmm. It's not private equity. It's a public capital deal. It's an investment partner, a strategic partner. There's a reason for that. They don't want to see it because they feel like it's a replay of what they've already seen. And I think that's clouding their judgment. And if it was any other league doing it, I don't think it would be quite as nasty and vitriolic as it's been, but it's precisely because it's the Big Ten and they've pulled off all of these other deals before that everyone thought was going to fail. And they've done it in a high-handed and at times arrogant way. That's what they can't, those two things can't compute for them. And so this deal either gets done or it doesn't. It either succeeds if it gets done, it either succeeds or it fails. But nobody's going to give the Big Ten credit for it. Nobody's going to give the Big Ten credit for it if it does succeed for these very reasons. And it's all the more reason why I don't blame Petitti for not engaging with these people. I don't blame the Big Ten for going its own way. They're never going to win these people over. Their influence is waning. They've already proven that it's waning because the Big Ten has succeeded in spite of it. And so the only thing here is to decide if this is a good deal or not on its own terms. If it is, move forward. And, the pieces fall where they may. But you're never going to win the media over when they've been the ones going through all of these issues that they simply cannot let go of and allow to cloud their judgment.
All righty. Beautiful call, sir. I appreciate it. A lot of great points once again.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
You got it, buddy. I appreciate
Keep
the call.
Up the fight.
Yep. Great call.
Bye.
Absolutely great call. Let me I want to go through a few things real quick here. Everybody give me a moment, please. I should have done this before. Give me a moment. Let me, okay, all right. Where is this? Okay, first of all, according to Front Office Sports, Paul Feinbaum is very close to leaving ESPN to jump into national politics, sources tell Front Office Sports. Feinbaum, who is considering a run for the U.S. Senate as a Republican in Alabama, is waiting to make a decision on his political future until after the college football season. So looks like Paul Feinbaum, according to sources, looks like he's pretty close to jumping into politics. Now, there are people, chatter behind the curtain, heavy speculation on this Paul Feinbaum situation. And maybe I'm going to go ahead and extend the speculation. Let's just put it this way. There is a lot of people in the industry, not just singular people, but like a tandem. Let's just say a tandem. There are people in the industry on YouTube channels, on certain platforms, that are vying for the Paul Feinbaum position. And maybe just part of what he does. So part of auditioning for Paul Feinbaum's position, and he's got a lot of different ones, a lot of different slices. His Paul Feinbaum show being the biggest one, but him doing ESPN platform shows for college football, being the mouth of the SEC. There is people auditioning for that, and maybe that is a part of a certain type of reporting that that's going on here in college football. Just to put that, I'm not going to apply, and I would be the last person they would ever interview. So anyways, it's been rumored that Josh Pate is slated. Maybe. Don't want to really say anything more than that. Okay. Rod Nix. I want to get to this. I got a crink in my shoulder. Greg, what are your thoughts on the wild assumptions made in the Essentially Sports article today regarding USC, Michigan, and the ACC? I don't see it happening, but I have not read the article, and I probably won't. But I will say this. Michigan is not joining the Southeastern Conference. It ain't happening. No way. Now, if Michigan ever decides to leave the Big Ten to join a different conference, it probably would be some sort of mixture of West Coast, USC, Utah, Colorado, some ACC schools. But they're probably going to be, they're going to have to, the boxes are all going to have to be checked. Like, not, they're all going to have to be large research universities in which Michigan would accept into their fold. So, Michigan joining a conference, a new reimagined conference, that is wild. I don't think it's going to happen. And it ain't going to happen for 10 years unless Michigan takes the Big Ten to court. But whatever craziness that is, it's a lot more logical than Andy Staples says Michigan could just join the Southeastern Conference. That's not going to happen. So anyways, thank you, Rod Nix, for that question. Christopher Hooter, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. If a university endowment, which has trustees overseeing, invests some funds in private equity to diversify, that is a 180 degrees private equity buying into a conference. Number one, I don't think it's 100. Thank you for the super chat, Christopher Hooter. Thank you for coming on in. I don't think it's 180 degrees. Maybe it's 10 degrees off, 15. Maybe I'll even give you 20, but not 180. Because, first of all, the core of it is the same. Like I said at the beginning of the show, it's apples and oranges. But it's not apple and green beans. Okay? Apples and oranges, but not apples and green beans. University endowments give the decision, overlooking, the board of trustees are not making the decisions on where the endowment invests their money. They're giving that expertise over to certain amount of, now they got to spread out. It ain't like one private equity firm is making all the decisions. But they given that decision into the hands of experts. That's what they do. And the return for University of Michigan has been excellent. Board of Regents, Board of Trustees, they can't manage an athletic department. They can't manage an athletic conference that oversees 18 schools. They can't manage an athletic department. They give those powers to the athletic director, and they oversee the athletic director, but the athletic director has to pull the levers to make the decisions. And the conference has to be able to move, has to be able to make decisions. And the athletic department and the conference wants to bring in experts to grow their revenue. The experts coming in, if they're worth their salt, are not coming in to doing the job for free. They want a stake in it. That's what this is. Just like private equity wants a stake in the endowment investment. Private equity is making money off these endowments. Off these endowment investments, private equity is making money. They are. So what is the evilness of a public capital investment making money off the Big Ten? And the more money they make, the better off is in the Big Ten. And if they fail to make more money, then it's not good news for the Big Ten. But where is the big difference in those two scenarios? It's not a 100, in my opinion, it's not 180. Maybe it's a 5-degree difference, a 10-degree difference, but not a 180. These public universities, you know how many comments I've received? These public universities, they're public universities. They can't have the wolf come in the door. They've already got the wolf in the door. The wolf is running things at public universities. They've got their foot in the door, they put their knee in the door, and they've ripped that door out the hinges. And the University of Michigan has been better for it. And again, Google your school. There's a certain allocated, the Board of Trustees, the Board of Regents, the Board of Visitors give the okay on a certain percentile of which the endowment can give the portfolio to the private equity. The private equity makes the decisions on exactly how that money, what they invest in. And the better they give to the university, the better they do, and then they can have an extended relationship with the university. The private equity is not coming in. And again, this UC investment deal, UC Investment's getting 10% of the stake. 10%. The Big Ten schools are going to have the ability to purchase parts or all of that 10% if things are going great. Now, it's going to be a very high price because UC Investment stake is going to be worth a lot if things are going great. Again, the Big Ten, if they do this deal, they're not being taken over by private equity. And they're not going to go broke because of private equity. What they're looking to do is bring a strategic partner in. The board, the Big Ten Enterprises, is going to have a board, members, and a CEO. They're going to have a CEO. They want this, and I see in this UC Investment, who's grown their portfolio from $100 billion to $200 billion in 10 years. That UC Investment that has doubled their portfolio in 10 years, the Big Ten wants that. They want that expertise. They're going to bet on that. They're more willing to bet on that expertise versus betting on the expertise of college football reporters who have basically gotten everything wrong about the Big Ten over the last 20 years. Let me end on this. The Big Ten did not become the most wealthiest conference in the country by relying on college football reporters' finance acumen. We were talking about George Foreman and Joe Frazier earlier today. Thank you for the $2 holla, Christopher Hooter. Greg, I own stocks, but stocks don't own me. And UC Investment ain't going to own 100% of the Big Ten. 10%, and the number is probably going to go down. Thank you for the $2 holla. Let me end by this. We were talking about George Foreman, Joe Frazier fights, right? George Foreman was an announcer, right? Boxing announcer after his fighting days. And George Foreman would say, if you are a big fighter, and he talked about Lennox Lewis. He tried to advise Lennox Lewis, right? He said, Lennox Lewis, you are a big fighter. You got to fight like a big man. If you are a big man, you got to fight like a big man. If you are a smaller man in boxing, you got to fight like a smaller man. A big boxer cannot fight the game of a smaller boxer. The big boxer has to fight like a big boxer. In other words, the big boxer has to close off the ring. They got to walk down the other boxer. The bigger boxer has to move the smaller boxer and try to get him to move into his power. The bigger boxer, if he's right-handed, if the power comes from his right, the bigger boxer wants to close out the ring and move the other boxer going from one to his right. The smaller boxer, of course, has to stick and jab, use most of the ring to get through the fight. My analogy is this. The Big Ten has to fight like the big boxer. They have to close off the ring. They have to close off the noise. A lot of people out there, the powers outside the Big Ten, are poking, they're jabbing, they're dancing across the ring. They're trying to get the tension away. The Big Ten has to be the big boxer. Close off the ring and lay in the big punch. Pull the trigger. Bet on yourself. Every time you've done so, you've come out way ahead. And again, like I said yesterday or the day before, without knowing all the details of this deal, I completely support it. Why? Because all the ones that are against it are not able to even they're getting all the information wrong, disinformation, or they do not understand it, and they have a bad track record of analyzing Big Ten's financial decisions. The University of Michigan uses private equity to invest in their endowment money. And the University of Michigan has come out way ahead. You bet on those that have a great track record. You have oversight. You try to be nimble. You try to get out of it if things are going pear-shaped. But you bet on the ones that have a great track record. UC Investment has a great track record. And they're betting on that the Big Ten is extremely undervalued. And the Big Ten is betting on that the Big Ten enterprises with UC Investment having a seat at the board and a CEO and be able to leverage all that content, all that stuff together as an 16 team conference. They're betting on themselves. So go ahead and be the big boxer. Close off the ring and lay in the punch. And that is my lecture for today. Joe Frazier would be a light heavyweight today. No question about it. Petiti's like a statue. I don't know. We'll see about that. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys coming in. I want to thank those who have donated to this program to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Bill G., Ricky Tungate, Larry Andrick, MBM, Ryan Willie, Anthony Carlson, Buck Wargo, Kenneth Maynard, Christopher Hooter. I appreciate all you guys, the phone calls. I wish we could go longer, but we've been on the air for 2 hours and 20 minutes. And on Wednesday, I'm supposed to have the shorter live show. So I think I might be in trouble with the little general. So pray for me. Pray for me after I walk out of the studio. But until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, Golden Gophers.